Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Freedom One-on-One. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Just a couple of quick notes. Number one, make sure you guys are heading on over to Rumble or Apple Podcast to subscribe. That way you guys are notified every time we come out with a brand new show. We've been kicked off of YouTube twice now, so we're not even worrying about trying to get back up over there. So you can find us on Rumble, find us on Apple Podcasts, or you can actually find us over on Locals at ffn.locals.com. And then if you guys would like to support what we're doing here at Freedom First Network, go over and grab yourself a bag of our Freedom First coffee at freedomfirstcoffee.com. It's 100% organic. It's fire roasted. It tastes like freedom. Go to freedomfirstcoffee.com. Use code Jeff at checkout for 10% off. Okay, really been looking forward to this show specifically. It's funny because, you know, as everybody knows, I've been pushing everything from like election fraud to COVID-19 to vaccines, and everybody's like, dude, you sound like a flat earther. And I'm like, no, I'm not a flat earther, but I'm going to be talking to one today. We got David Weiss joining us. He's got the Flat Earth podcast, but welcome to the show and glad we can sit down and chat here for a little bit.
Jeff, well, I always love talking to people that believe we live on a spinning ball flying through an infinite space vacuum, which breaks every law of thermodynamics and every bit of common sense. But I love it. So here we are.
Oh yes. You know, and the funny thing, and I was telling you before we came on, is that, you know, again, I believe that we're on a spinning ball that's going around the earth and all that kind of stuff. I've seen some pretty compelling video and arguments for flat Earth. I haven't been convinced yet. So I guess we'll see what happens today.
You know what? The way I look at it is there's very compelling arguments for flat Earth. There's very convincing, even, you know, super compelling. There's some that are weak, but there's none that are even compelling for the globe. I mean, for example, the globe, which you believe, and I'm not even saying that you're defending the globe. You just say you believe the globe. And that's why we were all there at one point. How fast is the Earth spinning? Do you know how many miles per hour it's spinning at the equator?
I don't. I remember seeing that somewhere, and it was pretty fast. But what's the actual?
It's over 1,000 miles per hour. So when you're watching the sunset, you're not watching the sun go down. You're on the top of a ball, falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. Okay,
dude, I get motion sickness. I don't know how I survived that.
Okay, while you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound, you're orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. Funny number there. Okay. And then you're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour or faster. And then it's moving sideways. Austin, how fast is it moving sideways? 1.3 million miles per hour or 30 million miles an hour? 1.3 million miles per hour. Okay. And we don't notice any of that. I mean, when the slightest change in motion in anything, you know, well, you'll notice it. You know, there's lakes that are perfect mirrors. How could we be having all of those motions and a lake lays perfectly flat like this?
Yeah, well, so I'll say it. So the argument that oftentimes, like, I'll hear about this sort of thing is that it's the similarity of the airplane, different atmosphere, right? To where, you know, an airplane will be going 300, 400, 500 miles an hour. But it doesn't feel like that when you're inside the atmosphere of the plane, whereas if you were outside, yes. So right. Yeah, I want to hear what you guys say about that.
The equivalent to that is remove the outer shell of the airplane, double its speed to 1,000 miles per hour, and then tell me how well you're doing. Because unless you're saying there's a shell around the Earth spinning with the Earth, holding in the atmosphere like the shell on the plane holds in the atmosphere, that analogy is nonsensical.
So are you saying that there's nothing holding in our atmosphere? There's nothing along those lines?
Oh no, I think there is. I you know, the globe model, you say gravity's holding it, right? But I can take a straw and with the weak vacuum of my lungs, low pressure of my lungs, suck air and water up and away from Earth at any altitude, but the vacuum of space can't rip off the atmosphere. You know, you can't have high pressure next to lower pressure or ultimate low pressure, this space, without a physical barrier. Now, there's lots of flat earthers that think there's a physical barrier, because, and I'm one of them, but not because there's a space vacuum. It's because space is misdescribed. I believe that space is water, if you have to ask me, but that's a whole nother thing. These are things, you know, when you're talking about space, when you're talking about what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica, these are things that we don't know because we're not allowed there.
Yeah. Okay. So let's back up a little bit because I want to set this up a little bit. So what was the moment where you're like, okay, we don't live on a circular globe going around the sun, and all of a sudden you're like, no, we live on a flat Earth where, you know, we look at the edges of Antarctica and the ice shelf and all that kind of stuff. What was that moment for you where you're like, crap, everything I believed is totally wrong?
Yeah. And every day I wake up and I find out that's even more true every day with the stuff I used to believe. So it started when I first heard about flat earth. I was like, oh, ha, 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 funny. We're a pancake floating in space with all of these other round planets. We're the only flat planet. That's not true. That's disinformation. That's what they want you to think, because if you think that, then if that's what flat earthers believed, then flat earthers are idiots. That's not true. When you Google flat earth, you get these discs, floating in space. If you Google flat earth, you end up at the Flat Earth Society, and it says flat earthers believe that the earth is rising at 9.8 meters per second, and that's what causes gravity. Well, that's stupid. Nobody thinks that, except globers who don't know their own model think flat earthers think that. So first, let me tell you when I found out, all right, what is the flat earth if we're not a disk in space? So flat earth is like a pond, right? Where does the pond accumulate? At the top of a hill? Does the pond accumulate at the top? No, it accumulates at the bottom. It accumulates in the low spot in the land. And what stops the water from running off the pond?
Well, the land's coming up, and
land. So the edge of the pond is where the land is higher than the water. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat. Okay. And they need a container. Like if you wanted to take a hot tub and I snapped my fingers and the hot tub disappeared, so does the water. If I snap my fingers and the edge of the lake disappeared, the water's gone also. The world is a giant lake. All of the continents, the islands, are surrounded by water, but all of the water is surrounded by land that's higher than the water. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. It's not a continent at the bottom of a ball. It's the land that surrounds the world pond. And what's beyond Antarctica? We don't know, because no one's allowed to go beyond this pink line, which is 60 degrees south. Yes, you can spend $20,000, $50,000, $80,000 to go there for a couple days. They take you to this peninsula. You're barely allowed off the boat. There's no independent travel outwards in the outer space. And then they kick you out. They show you some penguins. They show you some ice. And they're like, okay, thanks for the money. And they kick you out. Antarctica could be bigger than all of the oceans and all of the continents combined, but we don't know.
So within this belief system, essentially, so again, you're saying we're in a lake. Antarctica is surrounding the entire lake, and then there's going to be land going out. Is that land infinite? Like, do you ever reach an end? Like, what are we talking about here?
So you have infinite space in your model, but I'm not going to say infinite land. I'm going to say an extended plane. We live on an extended plane. It's the basement of the universe, for lack of a better way to explain it. And we live in a pond within that plane, right? So we live in the pond, and our sun and moon circle, and all of the stars, everything in the sky circle around that pond. They're small, they're close, they're within the Earth system, not the solar system. And they melted out this puddle, and this is where we live. Now, are there other ponds beyond it? Maybe. Perhaps there's other rings around where there's other land. If you had extra land, extra territory, extra terra, you might call somebody that lives out there an extraterrestrial, and they live in the outer space. We live in the inner space. You have these rings here, right?
Which from a logical standpoint would actually probably make more sense when we're talking about like UFOs and things from like like everybody will say, like somewhere from like another planet, like millions of light years away. It's like, well, what if they're just past Antarctica?
Exactly. So let's say you're an extraterrestrial, and your job is to go in and abduct my friend Austin and probe him. Okay, you could have breakfast with your wife. You can come in here, find Austin, implant him, and make it back for dinner with the wife and kids. Okay, you're not traveling trillions of miles through space. Here, they throw these numbers at us and our brains melt, right? Do you know how much a trillion is? I don't know if you've heard. I use this a lot. If you might know, but if I was to pay you a dollar every second, how long until you're a trillionaire?
A trillion seconds.
Well, how long? But how long? And I'll give you a hint. Measure it in years.
I don't know. It's probably beyond like even like my lifetime.
So take a guess.
I don't know. 100 years.
Very close. 31,000 years. Okay, 31,000 years is 1 trillion seconds. The closest star is 25 trillion miles away. So if by chance the aliens lived on a planet by the closest star. The other ones are magnitudes farther. They have to travel 25 trillion miles. Okay. If they're going 25 miles a second, it would take them 31,000 years to get here. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's insane when you think about it.
Well, when that's the problem. We've been indoctrinated with the globe before we can talk. All the children's programming, all the movies, teachers, schools, globes in the front of the class, everything is globe, 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 right? And it's a foundation of our belief. And then people take that information and they write a book, and then the book is the foundation of another belief, okay? It's all nonsense. And when you think about it, when you actually think about it, you realize how stupid it is.
So okay, so what would be the strategy for pushing this belief that we live on a globe versus
Why the lie?
Flat Earth?
Why the lie?
Yes.
So would you say that there's a little bit of tyranny going on in the world right now?
Just a smidge. I mean,
smidge.
I tend to get in trouble for talking about it.
Do you think? Well, we're gonna keep it nothing specific. Do you think that they, and we can talk about who they are trying to control us, the peasants?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this is all about control, right? They want us living in a fear-based system. I call it the Matrix, just like Neo, right? And we're living in this fear-based system, and we believe that, hey, we're corkscrewing through infinite space. We're out of control in a distant god or godless universe. That's what they want us to believe. An asteroid could take us out at any time. We're running out of food, water, dinosaur juice for our cars, all of this nonsense. Terrorists, country's going to attack. It's a fear-based matrix. It's not the way the world really is. And they're controlling us with our minds because our thoughts create our reality. They want us spinning out of control, lost in space. They don't want us to know that we are at the center of creation, that we are in a created world. So there is a creator. And they don't want us to know that nobody has any power over you. Do you know what authority, the people that we call authority, the police, the government, all the levels, the only power they have over you is in your imagination. Okay. That's it. Nobody, you don't have power over them, and they don't have power over you. You are here on this plane with basically two rules. Don't lose control of your soul, and don't break anyone else's free will. Okay, that's it. Then you're here to expand consciousness. You're here to experience being a human, in this incredible realm. They want us to believe that we're lost, out of control, spinning out of control with no power. Everything that you have in your life, you created with your thoughts. Absolutely. Any problems you're having in your life are your own. Okay. You've created them. Two people can look at the same scene and one person goes, "Oh my God, that's awful." The other person goes, "Wow, that was the most amazing thing ever." Okay. It's all how you take in the world and how you process the energy. Our thoughts actually create reality. They don't want us to know that. They don't want us to know that astrology, which I used to laugh at, is the real science, and astronomy is pseudoscience.
It's interesting. So in what ways would astrology be the real science?
Well, so I used to laugh, "Oh, don't make any decisions today. Mars is in retrograde." I'm like, Mars is 47 million. How far away is Mars, Austin?
It changes to like 38 million.
All right, 38 million miles away. Okay. And its gravity can't even, because that's what we believe, gravity causes tides, can't even affect the tides. How is its motion going to affect my day? But in reality, when you look at the sky and you actually look at what Mars is, it's nothing like NASA shows you. Our consumer optics have outgrown their lies. And when we look up and zoom in on Mars, if I could find my video, there it is. This is what we see. We see this energetic orb. All of the wandering stars, which they now call planets, are named after gods. So what is this? I say it's sentient in nature. I can't say anything more than that. I don't know how big it is. I don't know how far it is, but it's here within the Earth system. When we look up at stars are not these burning balls of hydrogen 90, 100 light years away or whatever they are, 25 light years farther. This is the star Arcturus. This is what it looks like when you zoom in on it with consumer optics now. Okay. That doesn't look like a burning ball of hydrogen. And here's Capella. Amazing, colorful. You slow it down. It's got geometric shapes in it. What are these things? I don't know. They're part of the Earth system.
Yeah. And it's so essentially what you're asking people to do is question their very reality and everything that they've come to believe, because we're not even just talking about like the shape of the earth. We're talking about where are we with it within the galaxies, what are stars, what is like science, what is everything that we've been taught. And essentially what you're coming in and you're saying is like everything you've been taught is a flat out lie.
It's you know how you know who said the world is a stage? Shakespeare, right? Yeah. You've heard that. Shakespeare never existed. The world is such a stage that the guy that supposedly said it doesn't even exist. All of these things are scripted out and then they're turned into reality. Arthur C. Clarke wrote a story about satellites. Boom, satellites happen. You know, some royal guy in the 1800s wrote a paper theorizing dinosaurs. No one has ever seen a dinosaur bone before that. A year later to the day, he discovers the first dinosaur. Okay. It's all nonsense. And it's all about taking away our power. Imagine if you had nothing to fear. If you had free energy, unlimited food, water, life is good. Everyone had the same, so no one needed to be afraid of each other. What would the world be like? What would that energetic resonance be? Okay. It would be a completely different world. Well, I believe the world was like that in the 1800s and before, that there was advanced civilizations living here. Have you heard of Tartaria?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, Tartaria was a worldwide advanced civilization. Their buildings are still here within our cities and throughout the lands. You know, look up like Angkor Wat's and, look at old churches. They didn't used to be churches. They used to be free energy residence centers. We're not sure what they were, but they were here. And then there was a reset, a calamity, a mud flood or whatever it was, whether it was an ice age, whatever it was, there was a reset, and then we moved into these things. The Capitol building here in Washington, D.C. was here before Christopher Columbus discovered America. Okay? Check that out. Look what's under the Capitol building. There's another story below it with pillars and everything. It's all buried in the ground.
It's
overwhelming is what it is.
That kind of stuff is always fascinating to me, because now I'm going to go research it and not Google it, because Google, I guarantee, will cover it up. I'll probably have to go on DuckDuckGo or something like that.
100%. And before we lose all of your listeners, because Flat Earth is the most ridiculous thing ever, I created an app that shows you how Flat Earth works, and it bypasses the YouTube algorithms. It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And every day on the app, there's a new featured video. And I have a challenge for people. If people are like, oh my God, Flat Earth, not again, I'm sick of this. And you're only sick of it because you haven't looked into it. Or if people say, well, I've researched Flat Earth, I Googled it. You end up with all propaganda, right? This bypasses the propaganda. Every day there's a featured video. And I tell people, watch the featured video every day for 2 weeks. Just while you're having your breakfast, watch the video, short ones during the week, mostly longer ones on the weekends. At the end of that 2 weeks, if you think that the earth is a globe, send me one proof of the globe, just one. Okay. And I'll give you 2 Bitcoins.
Yeah.
2 Bitcoins.
Well, yeah. Well, and so like the thing that I often, think about as well is number one, I'm very, I question almost everything that the government says anymore, because I feel like everything has turned out to be a flat out lie. But when it comes to like things like NASA, right? And I have friends that have been like, that have been pilots, and they've, some have worked for NASA and different things like that. And they're like, no, I've been up to the outer, whatever it is, of the atmosphere and looked down, and we see the curvature of the Earth, and we don't see what a lot of the flat Earth says about Antarctica and all that kind of stuff.
So again, there's a couple of situations here. One, maybe he's lying. Don't think so. He might have people believe they see curvature looking out over the ocean. People believe they see curvature looking out, of an airplane. But if you're on an airplane, you look out the left window, you look out the right window, and the horizon is at the same level. And if you draw a line connecting those horizons, it goes right through your eyes. Okay. How is the horizon at eye level at those altitudes? It makes absolutely no sense. If you're flying at 39,000 feet, the horizon should be about 39,000. No, the horizon should be 242 miles away from you. That's what that distance, the horizon, you should see the horizon at that distance, right? But you have to add, and that's at 39,000 feet. So I'm looking for my, I have a graphic that has all my numbers because I'm getting dyslexic here. Where did it go? So the horizon should be at that height, the horizon should be like 80,000 feet below you. Okay, 80,000 feet. You have no idea how high 80,000 feet is. The U-2 spy plane doesn't go that high. Here it is. Yeah, 39,000 feet, 242 miles away. The drop would be 39,050 feet. The total drop, because you have to add the height, the horizon should be 78,050 feet below you. But somehow you can draw a line from end to end and that goes right through your eyes. That's because the Earth is a flat plane and that's it. And the other thing is, I thought I saw the curve, but then that's because I didn't understand how human eyesight works. We see the same distance in all directions. So when you're standing looking out at 12 o'clock, you see the same distance. You see X distance, whatever it is, 10 miles, 100 miles, I don't care. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you see the same distance. That's a curve. That's the limit of your vision. Add a line across that, and a glober will tell you that's the curve of the Earth. That's just the limit of your vision and how it works. We see in circles. So we know this is flat, but we see it as a sphere because that's what our indoctrination told us it is.
Yeah. Now, so you were saying earlier that let's even going back to like the 1800s that everybody believed essentially in the flat Earth, right? And in the
1900s.
Yeah, okay, 19. At what point? Where was that point where the switch happened?
The switch happened in the 1930s, 1920s and 1930s here in America. I interviewed this woman, Ruth, in February of 2020 about the World's Fairs, which is another rabbit hole. And she had such a great memory. She's 102 years old. I asked her what they taught her in school. She went to Connecticut Public School, and she knew the name of the school. Teacher wrote it was on, kids in her class. And she says, they taught me the Earth was flat. And then years later, they changed it. This is here in America, in Connecticut, public schools, not a Christian school, not a religious institution, public schools. So we found newspaper articles, and someone just sent me another one the other day talking about teachers in the 20s and 30s being persecuted for trying to teach heliocentrism, which is the ball model, in schools. So all of this happened. World War I, World War II, the Depression. When all of that stuff happens, people stop looking. They're just trying to survive. That was basically another reset right there. Right, 1920s, we had the Spanish flu, and so everybody wore face diapers and got this in their arm, and everybody died. Okay, don't know why. Maybe it was the Spanish flu.
Yeah. Well, because
that's what Dr. Fauci said, so it must be true.
Well, yes. I mean, we all believe the quote unquote Dr. Fauci.
Yes.
But what's interesting? I was doing a show with one of the other hosts on our network, and we were talking about like Area 51 and aliens and things along those lines. And one of the things that we were talking about was Operation Paperclip and all that kind of stuff, and especially specifically when we get into like NASA and some of these different organizations, which, as we all know, NASA's been pushing obviously the globe, and they'll release photos and release evidence from outer space. But would there be any tie-in with essentially the Nazi scientists and things like that coming into our own government? Is there a form of manipulation going on there as well?
So you're aware of Project Paperclip, right?
Yep.
Project Paperclip is where we brought all of the scientists over after the war. We brought Werner von Braun, a German rocket scientist, over to run NASA. He's the guy that ran NASA. So first, I believe that's just a fake story. I believe Werner von Braun was a Hollywood actor, and that's it. Because there was no space race, because there is no space. It's all a story. The Cold War, there was no Cold War. It's all a story about control and starting bankers' wars and just manipulating the public. But Werner von Braun, that's the official story. So let's go with it. He did run NASA, and he, on his deathbed, or not on his deathbed, on his gravestone, he wrote on his gravestone Psalms 19:1, which talks about the firmament. Okay, why would a rocket scientist on his gravestone have the Bible chapter that talks about the firmament? The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. That's the only thing that's on his gravestone. Fascinating. Worse than that, Werner von Braun in the 1950s wrote a book called Project Mars. Familiar with it?
I am not, no.
He wrote a book about a group of people that went to Mars on a rocket. And that group was led by a guy. You want to take a stab at his name?
I couldn't even guess.
Elon. Okay. This is the book, Project Mars, about a group of people that went to Mars led by a guy named Elon. Elon Musk. This is the rocket that he says he's going to take people to Mars on. But a month ago, he tweeted, I want to make it a little pointier. Okay, this is mockery. It's mockery. Yeah. Look at this is the Space Command or whatever, the space farce, I call it. This is the emblem. Looks a little bit like Starfleet Command, right? This is predictive programming and mockery merged together.
So then is everything that we're told and shown and photos and video and all that kind of stuff, like, is that all just a complete fraud? Is it CGI? Like is this taking us to the moon landing? Like where are we going with this?
So if I can show you that NASA's faking things up on the space station just once, that should be enough to unwind that we never went to the moon, because why would they fake it? Here, they just got a delivery of some fresh food and they got a lemon and they're playing with it. Watch, that lemon is not real. It's a CGI object. It's called augmented reality, right? It goes right through the person's hand, showing you that that's not a real object at all. Okay. Why would they be faking things floating in space? Right? Here's Chris Hadfield, loves his guitar. He's singing, but he's upside down to make it like, oh, they're in space. They couldn't do this. These guys are in different rooms in front of different green screens. And this guy that's holding the microphone mistakes where Chris's head is and sticks the microphone directly into his neck. Chris didn't miss a note on that. Okay. This is showing you that they're absolutely faking it.
Yeah, which and again, I wouldn't be surprised that they're faking a lot of stuff too. I mean, we even saw more recently with not dealing with space and stuff, but even dealing with Joe Biden being out in front of the White House, and he was clearly in front of a green screen with his hand going in front of a microphone and all that kind of stuff. So at a certain point, it starts to make you question everything.
Yeah, no, you should question everything, and there's a lot of controversy over that one. But here, this guy goes floating by. I zoomed in on him, and you can see the wire in the harness. Okay, why is he hanging from a harness floating by? Look how stupid that looks. Okay, but people buy it up. Check this out. They use different techniques. Sometimes they love their blow up beach balls because you can put helium in them and they float neutral. But this is an augmented reality. Watch, it's not there, and there it is, and now she's manipulating it just like the lemon, okay? She's looking at a screen behind her or perhaps virtual reality contact lenses, and she's manipulating things in space. This is the technology. It's very, very simple.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to like even taking it back to like the moon landing and all that kind of stuff. Again, that's one of those highly controversial issues where back even before they had a lot of this kind of like CGI and augmented reality technology, there's still the claims and still the belief that hey they completely that was a complete fraud. And you see everything from like strings and the flag is not doing what it's supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. And again, it just comes back to, at what point can we actually trust the government?
At what point can this guy pick up that hammer while he's hanging from a wire that's pulling up on him and he can't get enough momentum to go down and pick up the hammer?
And also, as I'm watching that, I'm like, why is the sand falling straight back down to the ground?
Well, there's 1/6 gravity. You got to remember that. And it's very fine sand. It would be powder. It would be floating on Earth, says Baller Dave. Okay. So again, when you look at NASA's fakery, you can't even believe it. This is the LEM that's coming back. This is a spaceship. Okay. Right. There's two grown men in there and it's going back to meet up with the orbiter. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I don't know.
And I used to believe, when I finally started looking at the moon landing, I'm like, Oh, they're not showing us because the real technology is being hidden, so it won't be stolen by other countries. I actually believe that for a little while.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
it was interesting too. Like I was watching an interview that Buzz Aldrin was given, or no, Alex Jones was talking about Buzz Aldrin, but one of the things that Buzz had told him was that they really went to the moon, but they filmed it ahead of time because they wouldn't have been able to send the footage live back to Earth. So that was the excuse that he gave.
Yeah, and I say, cool story, bro.
Yeah. So okay. So again, I think it comes back for me a lot of this with even dealing with the everything from like the moon landing to like the fake outer space videos and all this kind of stuff. You would think that they wouldn't be able to cover this up so effectively, right? Like, where are the defectors, or is it just we don't hear from them?
Well, you don't hear from them. And there was a Polish astronaut not too long ago that came out and said, we never went to space in an interview. Well, I haven't seen him since then. Maybe he's fine. Maybe he's not. Who knows? Buzz Aldrin was being interviewed by a little girl, and she said, how come we never went back to the moon? And he was stumped. He goes, because we never went. Right. So, there's a story about, and I don't have any confirmation of this, that Neil Armstrong was, Jeffrey Greer was trying to interview him at a conference through a mutual friend, and he kept like pushing to get this interview. Neil wouldn't leave his room, and he finally sent a message out saying, if I grant you this interview, they'll kill my whole family. So where are the whistleblowers? Well, we have a KLM pilot was on our show called Globebusters, told us all about the Earth being flat, how it works, grounded the next day, fired. Okay, done, finished. So the people that are at the top that know, they have signed contracts with their souls essentially, and they can't tell even on their deathbed because it'll affect their families. So even if somebody did come out, they would just be discredited. How are you going to get it out there? You can't even say this word on YouTube, or the video disappears. So how do they control it? It's believe if you go back to like the Oklahoma City bombing, right? The local news right at the beginning, and there was press conferences that day and the next day talking about how there was a whole bunch of other bombs in the building. And then all of that disappeared the next day, never mentioned again, right? There was people saying, the truck was outside and it blew up, but how come everything blew out of the building and beyond the truck? Okay. And all of that disappeared. So they control the narrative. They control the information. They control everything.
Yeah, well, and again, this is where we come back to who's the one pulling the strings, because again, I'm always one of those guys where I'm always willing to explore all of the virtually any conspiracy theory, right? And I'm very hesitant about saying that something is true until I can actually prove it, right? And the question that I always get is, so who do you think is actually stealing the election? Who do you think is actually pushing all of this? Like, who's the one pulling the strings here?
I'm going to call you out there. You're claiming the globe is real. Prove it.
Yeah.
You can't prove it. You can't prove it. Here, this is the moon lander that they built in 1972 for $50 million. And then in 1964, they built this for $34 million. Okay. Look how ridiculous it is. This is a homeless tweaker shelter. Okay. But they tell us it's the moon lander.
Yeah.
Unbelievable that people believe it. And then, if you just listen, just go watch every Don Pettit video you can find. Then you'll realize we never went anywhere. Don Pettit is, he might be the only astronaut that thinks he went to space because he's completely retarded.
Okay. So, but bringing it back, who's the one that's pulling the hoax on the people?
These are the banking families, the UN, the Bilderberg Group, Club of Rome, Royal Institute of International Affairs, the Trilateral Commission, and the Council of Foreign Relations. These are the people that run the world. They own all of the media. They own all of the politicians. Anyone that gets up to any powerful position is completely compromised, and it's not just money, because people will flip, about money. It's about their lives. They get them to commit horrible atrocities, that can never be exposed. And then they own them. Then they get promoted, higher and higher. And if they ever spoke out, their entire lives and family chain would be, ruined forever. And people would want to kill them. So
Yeah.
it's how they control them. But these people, they're soulless and they don't care. And it's all about power.
Well, you know, and for people that, you know, think like this just sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Like when you think about it, though, that's exactly what was happening with like Jeffrey Epstein. You know, if you really dive into that, you begin to see that like our own government was providing cover for him, and a lot of it was because he was probably an asset of the CIA or whoever it was,
compromised people, right?
Yeah, that was his gig. Everybody was like, "Where's he getting his money? Where's he getting all of his stuff?" Well, he sold out. He was doing exactly what you're saying.
He was a honeypot, and he got people down there, and you know they get him doing one thing. Maybe they get him doing some cocaine with a minor, right? Then they get him abusing somebody. Then they get him killing somebody. Then they get, you know, it goes on and on. It's unthinkable to most people, but that's how they control them. And the more you do, the higher up you go. You know, there's people that are involved in these fake bang bang events that happen around here, and all of a sudden they're getting government positions. Right, the kid that was involved with remember that reporter down south that got shot live on the air, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Her supposed boyfriend, he's now in politics, and he won whatever chair he was going for, whether it's mayor or state representative. You know, it's ridiculous, and his story is the dumbest thing ever. So again, people don't want to believe that there's evil in the world because people are generally good people. Right? You're a good person. It's hard to believe that the world is so screwed up. It's scary to believe it. So it's easier not to believe it, right? Rather than to look at it. Belief is easy. Okay. Right? You believe my name is David. Did you ever confirm it?
I did not check a birth certificate.
No. Right. So you believe it. Knowing would take some time and effort. My name is David, but you know, at least I believe it is. I never really checked. But belief is easy. Belief is lazy. Someone tells you something, you believe it, you're done. Go out and have some tacos, take a nap. Okay. You want to know something, it takes time and effort, right? Once you understand that we don't live on a spinning ball, and that we're not spinning out of control, lost in a godless infinite universe, that you are at the center of creation and there's more of everything. You're never bored for a second. Life is so much better. You're not you believe in your soul that you're spinning corkscrewing through space. How does that make you feel? That's kind of makes you unstable. But now you imagine yourself standing on the foundation of the world, the universe. It does not move. It's solid and it's not going anywhere. Your vibration lifts immediately and you start to see the world for the way it is. You know, I used to wake people up. I had a thing called Exposing the Big Three, the New York event, the Connecticut school event, and the marathon event. And those things, once you see them, they're so easy to see. So easy to wake people up to that, but people just go right back to work after that and they forget about the whole thing. They're like, well, you know, the people that did that, you know, they're going to be out of office or whatever. And, you know, it doesn't matter. But once you see the flat earth, you can't unsee it. And then everything else starts clicking. You're like, you're now centered and somehow your brain starts working again and it starts thinking and critically thinking. You know, they've convinced us to give up our common sense for nonsense.
So what do we gain? You know, because I know you're just talking about a little bit right here. Like, what do we gain as individuals, right? But what would we gain as a society for buying into this?
Right now, we're on the edge of communism. It's coming if people just keep going. So freedom, how about that? You know, what if you knew that there was many more continents beyond Antarctica? Would you want to go there where there's no tyranny and you could live for free? And what if there was free energy that you could, harness yourself? What if that technology was out there? So you don't have to pay for electricity. You can grow your own food, right? You find a seed that your grandmother put in a jar 50 years ago. You stick it into the dirt and water falls from the sky and food grows, right? We live in a magical place. It's unbelievable. And people don't believe it. People think there's no food. There's food everywhere, right? I can plant a small garden and feed my entire neighborhood, right? It's ridiculous. People are lost, right? So what do we gain? We gain everything. Go look at Tataria. Look at that world. Free travel, good people. You don't have to worry about anything. They have us living in fear. When you're living in fear, you become, more nihilistic. You become greedy. You know, you become not so nice because you're trying to protect yourself. Well, what if there was nothing to protect yourself from? What does it do for society? It completely brings society back together. The way they control us. Here's the thing. If everyone, let's say your podcast goes viral and 327 million people in the United States watch it tonight. Okay. Everyone watches it and everybody believes everything I say, which you shouldn't. You got to verify it yourself. But everybody wakes up. Everyone's going to unplug from the matrix. Everyone's going to go, you know what? Screw these government officials. I'm going to go to work. I'm not going to wear a face muzzle. I'm going to do whatever I want. As long as you don't break the 2 rules that I gave you, the government would be done. We wouldn't even hear them. We're like, who are you? Stop it. The only control they have over us is fear. Fear is the only thing. So what does it do for society? It does everything. They've been trying to take it away. They divided us by countries, by races, by religions, by sexes, by genders. They're dividing the genders. They're putting face masks over us like slaves. They're telling us not to go near each other. They're dividing us up by vaccinated, unvaccinated. They're dividing, because as long as they don't care what the division is, as long as you're divided. There you go.
So then what do you think is their end game? Because I think with dealing with a lot of this flat earth stuff, right? So the argument would be that they're using it to instill fear, and obviously we're seeing that being played out whether it comes to COVID-19 or whether it comes to virtually anything. Again, everything is just fear based and implementing fear. But what do you think is their end game? What are they working towards?
They want total control of the world. They want slaves working for them. That's the way it used to be. And now people started waking up, over the Industrial Revolution, and they don't want that. They don't want their power taken away from them. These families keep their bloodlines pure, and it's all about their bloodlines and control. But if people wake up to this, they're going to lose control. So we're in the middle, maybe past the middle of what they call the Great Reset. And it's coming right here. They're telling us, okay? And if people don't wake up, we're going to be in some dark, dark times. I think, and people are like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. That's the psyop. There's everything we can do about it. We could end it by tonight, not even tomorrow, by tonight, but people have to wake up. And all you have to do is just say, no, I do not consent. If everyone said, I do not consent, not listening to your government anymore, and I'm doing my thing, the world would be amazing. It'd be amazing.
Yeah. And just even here in the United States, when it comes to everything from like the face mask to the vaccines to whatever it is that we're dealing with, like on a practical level today, it's just like, I'm seeing more and more, people, and they're like, no, I'm not going to comply. Like we're being lied to. And I think in general, we need to get people to start researching stuff. And even with this, right? Bring it to flat earth, right? You gave me some things I need to research. I need to look up and do some mathematical equations and all that kind of stuff. But just in general, we should be questioning everything. That is science. Fauci's always saying science is settled. No, it's not. Science is never settled. We have to go out and keep checking and verifying.
You asked me before, what was the thing that brought me to flat earth? And I'm looking into it. I'm seeing all these things, and I'm watching all of these we can see too far videos. So I looked up the curvature formula, and for the distances that we want to see, the curvature formula of 8 inches per mile squared is perfect formula. And it tells us that how far we should see. At 3 miles, there should be a 6-foot drop. At 10 miles, a 66-foot drop. Excuse me. So I went out and bought $1,000 camera, tripod, with the super zoom camera. And I went out and looked at objects across the water, and they should be gone. Not only could I see the object, I could see the surface of the water for dozens of miles beyond it, where there should be hundreds of feet of curvature. So I said, let me go recheck that formula. And the formula is correct, but there are some globe trolls out there saying, well, whenever you're looking at something, it's over the other side of the horizon and you're over the side of the horizon. So the curvature formula is only half of that, which is complete and total nonsense. But I'll give it to them because I don't need it. 33 feet at 10 miles. I can see things beyond 10 miles. I can see the surface beyond that distance. Okay. So there's nothing they can do. There's no curvature, no ball.
Yeah. Okay. So then if people want to research this more and want more information, where are the best resources and places for people to go?
So that's why I created an app, and oh my God, he's in it for the money. He's in it for money. The app's $2.99. It's a one-time charge. You can go out and Google it, and you can spend 500 hours. You'll find maybe 2 or 3 hours worth of good content, and you'll give up because it's just nonsense out there. They've resorted to the turd in the punch bowl method, where there's so much garbage that you can't find the good stuff, and their algorithms hide the good stuff. So this app bypasses the algorithm, and the app shows you how the flat earth works, how it looks, all sorts of stuff. So once you do that, and then it has a frequently asked questions section that will answer all of the questions that you could possibly come up with. And that's why I tell people, get the app, watch the daily video every day for 2 weeks, and then you'll see that the earth is not a spinning globe for sure. Let me just show you the app real quick. So here's the app. And on the bottom left is the featured video of the day. Just trying to move that. You got your featured video of the day. I just say, watch that. People love it. But after that, if you're unsure that the earth is flat, hit the question mark and up come all of the questions. Hey, what about eclipses? What about gravity? What about seasons? We didn't cover a whole lot of the proofs, but they're all here. If I click what about eclipses, up comes a playlist that YouTube, Google will not serve you. These are videos that'll show you stuff about eclipses that you didn't know. Okay. And then once you see them, you can go verify it yourself again. This is all, it's all in the app. Under the web button, bottom right, mud floods. Okay. Mud floods. We're talking about that. Watch that. The transcontinental railroads weren't made. They were excavated. Okay. They were from a previous world. Tons of information. All my interviews on the top left there, interviews. There's books, flat earth books. If you're looking for more information, if you're a book reader, you can find books in there, all sorts of stuff. Shows you how a compass works. Okay. Compasses, are not what you think. North is at the center. South is every direction away from the center, and east and west are circles. An airplane can leave New York heading east, but you have to keep turning to head east because you need your compass needle pointing to the center, and that's how you end up back in New York. You can head west. Billions of people have done it, but no one has ever gone south and then popped up over in Australia. No one's ever done it because you can't, because the earth is flat. Right? Also has tons of images like the moon landing. Do you think that we went to the moon in that? Look at that. If you had to order the parts for that to make this, what would you be ordering? Would you be calling a manufacturing company, or would you be calling an arts and crafts center and getting some paper mache, some tin foil, maybe some curtain rods? I'd call Home Goods. I could probably get everything I need there.
Is it bad that it seriously looks like the outer space craft from like 1940s like sci-fi movies?
Yeah, well, that's they predictively programmed us with that. NASA they do all of their training in a pool, and this is what they show us. This is what we get, right? A pool with green screens. Okay, amazing. There's so many things in here. If you're a flat earther, already know this is the best tool for when you're what we call flat smacking people. When you're talking to somebody, you break it out and you can show them examples rather than just talk. I was at a gathering the other night and people started asking about flat earth came up, which I'm always happy about, but I don't bring it up. I let other people do. I had like 20 people around me, and every question they had, I was showing them another picture, and they were all blown away. And 20 more people bite the dust. The ball is losing badly. Change teams now so you're not the last one and at the bottom of the roster.
Sounds good. Hey, David, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna have to have you back on sometime. I'll explore your app, and then I'll come up with some good questions, and then we'll have another good conversation.
Absolutely. As long as you have questions, I'll come back. Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app available on the Apple Store. You need an iPhone 6 or better. Available in the Google Play Store. You need an operating system of 8.0 or higher. And now a lot of people said, I keep adding more and more to the app. App gets very expensive. People said, hey, can we donate to the app to help you add more features? I'm like, great, let me add a donation button. They don't allow it. So I added a subscription button. So when you get it, you pay your $2.99. You get a pop-up. It says, would you like to subscribe? There's no ads. You can exit out the second it comes up. It's gone, and it only shows up once every 24 hours. You can always exit out. No problem. You don't have to subscribe. But if you wake up every day and grab your app, first thing, like, what's on the app today? Maybe you can subscribe then. It's up to you. But don't subscribe until you're a full-on flat earther. All right?
Okay, sounds good. Hey, Dave, I really appreciate you coming on. I enjoyed picking your brain a bit, and so we'll definitely have you back on again.
My website is theflatearthpodcast.com, Instagram by the same name, Facebook by the same name, The Flat Earth Podcast, and the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app is all linked at theflatearthpodcast.com, and that's about it.
Perfect. Sounds good. I will post all those links in the show notes below. So anybody watching, whether you guys are watching on Rumble or listening on Apple Podcasts, wherever it is, you can just click on the links. You can go right there. Again, David, I appreciate you coming on. It was a blast. Again, we got to explore some of this kind of stuff. It's fascinating.
It is. The more you look into it, the more you realize, the more you take your power back. Take your power back. Stop giving it away. They can't take it from you. You can only give it to them. All right. So don't believe their nonsense.
Sounds like a plan. Okay. And then everybody else as well. Make sure you guys click on the links. You guys go to his website, check out the app, all of that kind of stuff. And then for us, make sure you guys are subscribed on Apple Podcasts, on Rumble. Go to freedomfirstnetwork.com for all of our shows. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. We shall catch you guys next time.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. We are clear.
All right, man.
Appreciate it. It was fun.
Look into it, man. Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me on. And send me a link when it's up. I'll share it. All right. Are you going to put it on YouTube, or are you out of YouTube?
We've been kicked off of YouTube twice, so we don't even try anymore.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll have it on Rumble. I'll send you the Rumble link once it goes up.
Awesome. Thanks, man. See ya.
Of course. Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
The Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock app. A dynamic new app to teach family and friends about where they actually live. The sky is a perfect clock. The sun measures the hours and days. The moon measures the weeks and months. The star constellations measure the seasons and years. 12/12 or 24-hour clock face. Or go hands-free. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app with new added features. World Time. See what time it is all around the flat Earth. A true Earth compass that shows true navigation across and around the flat Earth plane. Weather. Tap for detailed local weather information. Know what phase and where the moon is at all times. Watch the sun travel between the tropics for the seasons. Select an amazing background. Add your own or have the app change it to a new one automatically every time you use the app. Add a countdown to your next big date. Learn the truth about our world with the featured video of the day. Web button for additional flat Earth related features, from the mythical curve calculator all the way to Tartaria. While talking to friends, easily pull up pictures that expose the globe lie and shine light on the flat Earth truth. Video playlists in different languages. See the real trade winds circling the flat Earth. And clean screen features. Simply click off the items you don't wish to see. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app is the best tool to show your friends and strangers how our flat Earth actually works.